sorry, Clary.
She doesn't want to believe you. Because she is in love with you. Jonathan.
I thought your name was Jace.
Jace is a nickname.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Words About Books. This is part 2 of our City of Bones conversation with special guests, Amy and Chantel of the Uncited podcast. If you have not listened to part 1, please go back and do that, or this is not going to make any sense. It is one conversation that we split in half for time reasons. So, that's your warning. Proceed at your own risk. Well, do you guys know, like, the Book of Enoch, the non-canon Bible book?
No.
Okay.
I'm Catholic. We don't get non-canon Bible.
So
We have the Old Testament that as close as we get.
So the Nephilim are mentioned like really briefly in the Bible, I think in Genesis.
Yeah.
But in the Book of Enoch, they go way more into it. There's like a whole thing about how the Nephilim become hyper corrupt and they start killing people and like eating people, and they also have angels who act as like a Prometheus figure that give mankind like magic and science and all this stuff. And that's part of the reason God does the flood, is because they screwed everything up and he's got to reset it. And I kind of wondered if she was pulling from that a little bit with her Nephilim, because I don't know. Like I wanted, when she kept saying Nephilim and she kept talking about like the mortal instruments, it's like, why don't we make more Nephilim and everything? I was wondering if it was because like maybe there's like something not good about being a Nephilim, like you're not part of the plan.
So I do want to bring up that there is a character in the prequel series called Brother Enoch. He's like one of their healing people. So I think if there is that line woven in there, it's not for nothing kind of thing.
That just it goes against everything I was about to say. Which is that I wasn't even reading it as like that Christian. It's like, yeah, the angels and the demons and there's maybe a god and whatever.
The Paradise Lost
of it all. But also like they're very secular for being angel descendants. Like Jace doesn't really believe in God. And he's like not sure if they actually are descended from angels. And we find out they very much are later. But like all the religions of the world help them and like store weapons for them in their places of worship under the ground. And I feel like it's just kind of like a conglomeration of a bunch of different religions where they're like, yeah, those are angels, I guess, and something with demons also, and good and bad, and they're like, that's in a lot of religions.
Yeah, the reason I thought it might have come from like the Book of Enoch was just because that's all like pre-Christian canon stuff. It's all Hebrew, and Cassandra Clare is Jewish, and I wondered if she might have pulled from that. But what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought.
Choo-choo.
Jace's speech about not believing in a god. I didn't want to mention it, but I'm going to because it's funny. A part of the quote finding thing, that speech Jace makes about if there's all this bad stuff, there must be something good. What Clary says to him, and then he's like, I've never seen anything like that, blah, blah, blah. That's like word for word from Supernatural.
Oh.
I was thinking of Supernatural.
That's a conversation between Sam and Dean in one of the first couple seasons of Supernatural.
Oh, dang.
And yeah, the angels were a huge reveal at the beginning of season 3. I remember that.
And the angels are going to be a huge reveal later in this.
Figured they would be. I knew they were going to show up at some point.
Intertextuality is fun, right, guys?
Like I said, I wasn't going to mention it because I'm not accusing her of plagiarism. Like, it was changed enough. I think that was like, I do think she honestly intends these things as homages. Like, she knows if you like her thing, you probably like that thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not
because of Wincest.
No.
It's Weasley. So.
No. There's also Winchester sex.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, God. Tumblr. Yeah. The super hulock. Yeah.
Yeah.
I came out here to have a good time.
Well, so did the Tumblr people.
No.
Okay, another reference: the Forsaken,
Yep.
the Forsaken Warriors. I played a Forsaken Warrior in World of Warcraft, so
Oh.
I got that reference. Can we talk about? So eventually, Clary's mom is kidnapped by demons, and that's why Clary has to hang.
I like how you say eventually. It happens really soon, but like in this discussion, I guess.
Yeah.
Jumping back into your summary that we completely derailed.
The
for like
summary's
half an hour.
gone. This is like you gotta just read the
Let's get back to the plot.
read the book, guys. I'm just gonna talk about the things I like.
Uncited has a great episode where we actually do go into the plot, so you can go listen
There
to
you
that.
go. It's
Shameless
a great
plug.
tie-in.
No, you should. It's good.
Absolutely.
And if you want the plot, that's the only way you're gonna get it.
But if we do jump back to the plot where she does get kidnapped for a second,
Yeah.
so when she gets kidnapped, Clary's at the coffee shop. If you recall, like half an hour ago, we were talking about that. So Jace is there, and they're like, "Oh, why are you here?" And then she gets a call from her mom, and she's like, "Don't come home." And then Clary's phone breaks for some reason, and then she like steals Jace's what she thinks is a phone, but is very obviously not a phone, and is some Shadowhunter fighty thing. And then instead of going back into the coffee shop to be like, Simon, can I borrow your phone to call 911 because I think my mom is getting attacked by like home invaders? She's like, oh no, I forgot Simon existed again. I'm gonna run like 6 blocks to my house and then get there after she's gone. No reason for that to happen.
If you had to go back in there and listen to Simon's love confession, or go try to fight a demon with nothing but a
Good point.
mysterious brick, the choice is clear. So does that device come up ever again in the book?
Well, they break it and then they get a new one, but I don't think it like the new one comes up.
It was a sensor, right? I was trying to. There was a
Yes.
when they go to fight Valentine. I think they might use him
Oh.
again.
They use it when they go to Clary's apartment to get the cup, the mortal
That's
cup, the
right.
MacGuffin, which Valentine wants because it's very powerful and whatnot. And they go there and they're like, no demons. And then they go and, oh, surprise, big demon that was hiding in a portal.
She really should have been thinking more about merchandising. There should be more of the things like this. She should just
More merch, less incest. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Nate has
You
priorities.
could sell cups. You could sell mortal cups, tarot decks. Somebody's got to be selling that tarot deck.
Oh, yeah.
They have some. So there's this. What's her name? I think her name is Cassandra Jean. She's an artist who was originally on Tumblr, but I think she's branched out by now, and she's affiliated with the Mortal Instrument Shadowhunter world, and she has made a like tarot card deck that like has really pretty stylized versions of the characters. She also did the comic book for the series.
I know what Nate's getting for Christmas.
So yeah.
I'm gonna get you your own set of Mortal Instrument.
I feel like
Cuts both ways, Ben.
I feel like Ben's just here like, this is for Thrawn.
Oh,
This is for the Bobs.
this is for the Bobs. This is for no. You know what this is for? This is for that stupid Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants book.
There's 3 more in the series.
We had
buddy.
that conversation when we first started reading the book. Nate made it like 3 chapters in. He's like, I would read Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants every day of the week. And I was like, hard disagree. I would read the rest of the Mortal Instruments before I would ever read another Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
I'll say that I started liking it more around the time they went to the vampires.
Yeah, then you'll love the rest of the series because they're all over the place.
There you go. And we never have to read Sisterhood. Can you imagine Bridget in this universe? She
Yeah,
she would be a monster. But
she
Literally.
was a monster.
so Jocelyn Frey, right? Clary's mom. And I titled this whole thing, I wonder if he means old Ben Kenobi, because Jocelyn Frey has been on the run. She's been trying to hide herself. She's been using magical devices to hide herself, but she did not change her first name. She was
Change her last name.
She was dressed like a Jedi the whole time.
She was Jocelyn Fairchild, changed to Jocelyn Frey, same initials even. It like she wasn't trying very hard.
Except for the whole magical spell thing that she had.
She had a magical
It's a bit of a
spell.
tryhard.
And she lived like 3 blocks from the Institute.
Pretty close.
I don't know how big New York is.
I think she lived, it's 2 train stops, right?
Yeah.
I've never been to New York.
Is that 100 meters? Is that like 4 kilometers? I don't know.
Canadian loony units. I don't know what any of that means.
We don't even know what those measurements are. We use inches, yards, feet, and miles.
Yeah, we go by how large a king's foot was.
There's 12 inches to a foot, and then there's 3 feet to a yard, and then there's like 5,200 something whatever yards to a mile.
No,
what the fuck is a hectaker?
A hectare.
There's
a hectare, yeah. You've never parceled land.
Arkansas.
Everything about this conversation is gibberish to me. I don't know any American
hectare. Is that like
a
acres?
Hectare? No,
or like it's just an arbitrary amount of land. But does it matter the dimensions?
I forget how much a hectare is. I think it's larger than an acre. That's how you usually measure farmland. You guys, you're familiar with a hogshead of milk or something?
What?
Yeah, that's a unit we have.
That's not a thing.
We use bags.
Making things up.
We got bagged milk over
is
here.
making things up.
I'm on the other side of the country, so we got oat milk.
We have oat milk.
That's fair.
I don't believe you now.
I don't
believe anything you say anymore.
Yeah, so
you get oat milk at Starbucks.
I think I've lost Nate here. So we some provinces in Canada have the bag, like milk in like a liter bag, I guess, that you then put in a container and you snip off the corner and then you pour it out and then you get like those bags come in a bigger
so you're
bag.
reminding me of like Dairy Queen.
No, it's like if you got milk at like a cafeteria or something.
No, we're going with the Dairy Queen, Ben. I saw them. They tried to change the bag once, and a corner got caught on something and ripped open and spilled like a gallon of milk everywhere.
So yeah, it's a similar concept, but for individual people size. So like a family.
I thought you were talking about like
and then you have a dispenser in your
of
fridge. No, they're not that sturdy. And then you have a container in your fridge that you put all your bags on top of each other, and then you swoop one out, and then they drop down, and then you cut the corner, then you put it in the container, and then you pour it out. It's a cultural thing.
So anyway,
sounds like a better system than what I have.
Just the plastic gallon of milk that says it's recyclable,
we're talking
but
about
not
Ben
anywhere in your state. Okay, so Clary fights a demon, right, with a cell phone. She wins. Nobody saw that coming, and she just shoves it in his throat.
You know what? Let's just derail Ben again. So the big bad Valentine, they're a bunch of weird magic racists, and why do demons work for them? Like,
demons don't work for them. Oh wait, no, they do. Never mind. I was thinking of the Forsaken. But
because they're trying to get rid of the Shadowhunters. So Valentine has this grudge against the Shadowhunters, also against Mundane. So he wants to make his own breed of Shadowhunters that are better.
Same breed again.
Yeah, I know.
But doesn't he also hate demons? Like he wants to get rid of all impurities, which is also magic creatures.
Yeah, but like at the same time, he needs the muscles. So he gets the muscles by promising them that nobody's gonna hunt them, and obviously he's gonna double cross them because of who he is as a person.
I feel like we need to explain this to the audience because this hasn't been explained at all.
All right, go for it.
There's
don't just
demons.
Tap out of there, Nate. Like, by the way, I'm going to derail it. By the
way, so there's demons who are like invading the world from a different dimension, and then all the like semi-magical people, like vampires, werewolves, zombies, etc., are like they have a little bit of demon in them, and then the people who fight the demons are part angel, but then they coexist with the people who are part demon because they're also part human. So, okay, go on. Sorry.
But what about
derailing your derailing?
We haven't even gotten into the warlocks.
Yeah, but what about
yet.
the fae? Like the fairies?
Yeah, they're part demon also.
Are they part human though? I thought the fairies were like their own thing.
I think they're
Fairies are their own thing.
Are they part demon and part angel?
I think they might be. I think that might be what it is.
Yeah.
But they're
It's like, okay, that's like the King Arthur explanation. Like they're fallen angels.
But yeah, they have like their own sub-dimension though. So there's Edom, which is like hell, I guess, where all the like demons come from, and then there's the fairy world. So you have the Unseelie Court and the Seelie Court, and that has a whole thing. And then you have people world, and in the people world there's vampires, there's warlocks. Warlocks are half people, half demon.
I don't know if there's a better metaphor for this entire podcast than me watching Nate text in the reflection of his crown.
Anyhow, I keep getting messages I have to look at. Okay.
It's just, that's my life. Okay.
This whole thing is such a struggle because, like, your podcast and our podcast, I think, has the same dynamic where you and I are like the ones who are just desperately trying to do like the plot summary and get through to the end. And then Nate and Amy are the ones who are like, but also, have we talked about the vampires?
Have we talked about the vampires?
Okay, real quick. So
I like the derelict hotel.
we're gonna get
Right?
the Hotel du Mort. We'll get there.
Which is funny because Dumort is de la mort, like is of death, because they're dead because they're vampires.
And not the sexed up romantic kind. The ugly, blood-sucking, coffin-dwelling kind.
That's offensive.
Really.
Coffin implies wooden box. We have caskets now. They're made of 14 karat gold.
My bad.
There aren't really zombies, but the Forsaken are kind of like zombies.
I think like everybody wanted to laugh, but nobody wanted to give it to you.
I like how Amy's explaining the joke that was explained in the book.
Not everybody's gonna read the book. Nate's not selling them on
Oh
it.
man, I did love like in
Absolutely
the audiobook
not.
though, they're doing that thing where it's like I mean, I'm sure it's in the text too, but it's like really apparent in the book because she tries to do like a Mexican accent. She's like, it's the kid speaks perfect English, except he throws in a Spanish word every now and then that everybody would know, so that you know he's Spanish.
Yes.
And he's like, oh, nobody goes into that hotel, padre. It's like nobody talks like that.
The boy's eyes widened in disbelief. Puta madre. Why would you want to do something like that?
This whole scene is where I figured out how offensive this book actually is, because first of all, she goes in and there's Raphael,
Yes.
who's like
Yep.
throwing in Spanish words because we need to know that he's Mexican.
But you know what we're talking about. You know about the vampires? Clary said. Raphael turned his face to the side and spit. When he looked back at them, his eyes were full of a glittering hate. Los vampiros. Sí.
And then she's like looking around and just being so offensive. She's like, vampires are really hot. All vampires are hot. I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's because vampires don't want to turn ugly people into vampires, or if ugly people just don't want to live forever. I was like, where did that come from?
It's like, no, we do. Yeah, I'll take it.
I was like, you couldn't even like one of those thoughts could have been like becoming a vampire turns you hot, but she's like, nah.
But eventually she gets there because Simon does turn hot when he turns into a vampire.
You're still the same, Simon. You're the same Simon I've known my whole life. The same guy who loves sci-fi. And who can recite every line from every Nicolas Cage movie.
I think she's taking a shot at Twilight.
He takes his glasses off and lets his hair down.
Because when you turn into a vampire in Twilight, you get real hot. Everybody's hair gets very full. Their skin glows, not just in sunlight.
So now that you're talking about Twilight, and you also talked about the ratings, Ben, a lot of the negative ratings talk about the book cover looking very Twilight. What do you think?
What do I think about it looking very... It doesn't look like Twilight.
Yeah,
Does it have an apple
tap
on
out?
it? No, it doesn't.
No, but Jace is on the cover of the first book.
Jace's nipples
and
are
he
on the
looks
cover
like...
of the first book.
Yeah, fair. And he does look like he's glowing, but it's because he's a Nephilim.
Yeah, that's angel glow, not vampire glow.
That's angel glow.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
totally
special
different.
angel glow because he has like a whole like weird angel blood thing going
Yeah,
on.
Nate. Why do you even bother living?
You guys are so nice to each other. It warms my heart.
I feel like if Nate and I had a podcast,
Look, hey, you can do a podcast with Nate anytime you want.
it would just be pure chaos the entire time. Nobody would listen, and you and Chantel would be like, "We have a plot. We're going through the plot. This is fine. Everything is good. 30 minutes done." Nate and I would be like, "We might as well move to Twitch at this point."
I'm gonna
Just do
bring it
live
back. I'm gonna
streams.
try to sell people on this book. Magnus Bane, sex warlock.
He's awesome.
Who hits on underage?
Yeah,
No, Alec was 18.
was he? Oh, he's
Was he
14.
really?
They're 15 in the book. They aged him up.
Yeah, but Alec is an adult. He's an
Is he?
I think Jace is 16 and
Clary's 15.
Isabelle is 16. Clary is 15 and Alec is 18.
Checkmate, Nate.
All right.
Acceptable
That actually
shit.
makes. I'm okay with this. Then. That actually makes me feel a lot better.
18 and 800 is a
Really
much
worried.
better age gap than 17 and 800.
You know what? Legal. It's legal. Society, Kansas law can't stop this. So, so there's a scene where Clary asks, or Isabelle. Clary asks Isabelle, "Is Alec gay?" And Isabelle's like, "Oh my God, how did you know?" And I just pictured a series of flashbacks of Alec like throwing himself at Jace, just trying to do the movie move, like putting his arm around him, and like, it's just friends. There's just sometimes you kiss your homies, like you just gotta. And like Alec is like very, very obviously gay, so gay that Nate noticed it, and you never pick up on that.
I feel like it's like she talks about how close they are a lot, and she's like, I wonder why Alec is so protective of Jace. Wow, Alec seems really to like
brothers.
Jace.
We're closer than brothers.
We're parabatai. It's
When
fine.
she tries to sit next to Jace, Alec like shoves his way in at the Fairy Waffle House. By the way, the Fairy Waffle House. This is one where I was like,
What?
do you not remember the Waffle House?
No. What?
Oh no, they go they go on one of their adventures,
It's the best diner in
Yeah.
New York.
and he takes her out for like breakfast, and she's like reading the wrong side of the menu, and she's like, "I don't want like blood and raw horse meat." And he's like, "No, you don't order the fairy food. You order the people food. It's on the back." And she eats the best pancakes of her life. But then they call the gang, and this is where they get the invitation to Magnus Bane's, because Isabelle just had one, and they never explain why. Anyway, this is where I was like, I wish the kids were older, because Jace is 16, but he's like he walks in like he owns the place. Like he's talking to the waitress, he's chatting up the waitress. He's like, everybody's like friendly with him. He's got all these contacts. He's like really a mover and shaker in this underworld. And I'm like, how long have you been professionally hunting demons? You're 16.
Yeah, he like leaves the table for a second and then comes back with like a lipstick mark on his cheek from the maybe Selkie, maybe Fairy, maybe something else waitress.
Her name is Kylie, I think.
If you tell
Yeah.
me Kylie, there's like a series of novellas about Kylie having adventures.
I think she dies.
I think that's what I just
Oh
give
my
up.
God.
What the heck,
Oh,
Amy?
okay. That's more acceptable.
He definitely walks around with like a little black book of phone numbers with like a condom stuck into it.
Yeah, at least
You
he's
know?
safe.
Like he's that kind of person.
As you do.
Least he's safe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that would be safe still, because like they decide they're going to apply like actual biology to the half human people and say that they're actually like hybridized creatures like mules. Like they have a matching number of chromosomes to create something, but not enough to form gametes, so they're sterile. Cassandra Clare doesn't know why they're like mules are sterile, but warlocks are sterile. There you go. But in Magnus Bane's case, I don't think it matters.
No.
Well, Magnus Bane's mother was a human and his... Oh, I see what you're saying.
But then again, not all warlocks.
Well, he
are
likes
sterile.
everyone. He likes the wine, not
Hashtag
the
not
label.
all warlocks.
I don't know. But it comes up again with Madame Dorothea because she says her mother was a witch, and Jason's like, that's impossible. And it's like, I'm adopted by a witch. He's like, that's possible.
Yeah, but later on, so in the prequel series, there's a warlock who then is also in every other series, and she has a child with a shadow hunter turned City of Bone person turned back into a human, I think. They have a kid, and it's fine.
Every time you talk about a future book, Nate becomes less interested in reading the future books.
Why is it called City of Bones? They only go there once, and then they're like, and now we're gone, and they never go back again in this book.
Because they go back again later on.
In this book?
It's because of the naming conventions. They need to do City of Bones because there's also a City of Glass, but they couldn't call it City of Glass because later it has to be City of Glass when they go to the City of Glass. So they need all of them to be called City of. And in this one, they can't be like City of, I don't know, garbage and rats.
City of 2 train stops.
New York is very small in this book.
It's New York in this book is Manhattan.
I think it's Brooklyn, actually.
Oh, yeah, she lives in Brooklyn, and the Institute is in Manhattan, right?
Something like that, yeah. Or
Yeah.
Queens. I don't know. I'm just saying American words.
Harlem.
Am I the only person who's ever been to New York?
No, I've been. Is the worst part. I have been.
Okay.
I went to Manhattan, and then I was like, LaGuardia, goodbye.
Yeah, Brooklyn is these days. It's probably in 2004 too. It was the hipster part.
Oh no!
So, yeah, Brooklyn's
That makes sense.
very expensive. That's why there's kids doing poetry readings at coffee shops and tiny baby nightclubs.
The Tiny Baby nightclub is in Manhattan.
Oh,
because they get into the cab and they're like, we're going to Brooklyn, and that is their entire direction. So they give the cab driver.
Perfect. We'll just drop you off and.
I want to talk about Magnus Bane real quick because Magnus Bane is my favorite character.
Same.
Same.
He was like the only person in this book I was like, I wanted him to join the group. I wanted him to be part of like the core 4, you know?
Keep reading.
Amy, do not spoilers.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Because, I know like at the end, he's the one that like treats Alec.
That's the best part of the book is hearing about Magnus coming and showing up and treating Alec, and we don't even get to see it.
Warlocks always is cryptic.
I'm not being cryptic. I'm being coy.
He's in every book of every series. So
Oh, that's good.
I recommend he also has his own side stories. Like he has like a collection of stories also. The Bane Chronicles. Recommend. They're fun.
See, okay, Nate, we can read the Bane Chronicles. That's a compromise. Everybody likes Magnus Bane.
All right.
Nate,
do you like
Magnus Bane?
Do you like? Tell me you like Magnus Bane.
Equivalent in Sisterhood of the Traveling Man.
That's the deal.
Yeah, it's the movie.
Yes, we could do.
The movie has Blake Lively, so like good enough.
Oh.
I feel like Magnus succeeds where Jace is trying to. What he's trying to do
him.
with the like cocky, everyone likes me, I'm so hot, everyone's obsessed with how I look and act and behave, and Magnus just is that, so he doesn't need to say it.
Oh yeah, Jace swaggers in there and he starts going like, you're gonna do this, this, and this, and Magnus is just like, am I? And raises an eyebrow, and Jace is like, please. I loved that. It was so refreshing to watch Jace on the back foot for once. But Magnus Bane is like, maybe I wonder if he healed Alec by saying, you know what, these wounds are going to close on their own eventually, because that's kind of his approach to magic in this book. Is we find out he's been like every 2 years he touches up Clary's amnesia or her blindness, so he takes away her magical sight, and then he goes in to touch it up. She missed her last appointment, and so it's
your regular
she's getting her powers back.
You need to have your checkup.
So her magical blood pressure is going up, and it's just going to keep going up. And they want him to undo what he did to Clary, and he's like, I can't, but it's going to go away on its own. But what I can do is like, and he puts on like his sunglasses and like his radiation coat and like shows her this like book that nobody's supposed to look at because it's filled with all of the knowledge of the angel. It's like the Ark of the Covenant.
The gray book, but it's green.
The gray book, but it's green. So that everybody could make fun of Clary
Yeah.
one more time.
Idiot. Everyone knows that. Come on.
She's like, you're so overly literal. But this is also the party where Simon drinks the rat potion. Because he's trying to show off. I was unclear about his motivations.
He was mad that Clary wasn't paying attention to him, so he was like, I'm going to be part of your world like the Little Mermaid. And then he drinks the evil-looking potion, and then he turns into a rat, and he's like, ooh, maybe that wasn't like the jumping in point that I needed.
Why would they have a tray of potions that turns people into rats?
That's a great question.
It's a party, Ben. God, you're lame.
Why
Come
not?
on.
Especially since there's already vampires there, and apparently vampires just spontaneously turn into rats when they get drunk.
But I assume, like,
Yeah.
they couldn't shift back if they drank this. I don't know. Just drink the potion. Why are you questioning this, man? You wet blanket.
Like, wouldn't you want to be able to climb into a wall and cause some ruckus instead of like having to deal with people?
Yeah. It's cool.
Especially at a cat's birthday party.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
You know?
doubly weird.
It's fun
'Cause it
for
was
the
a cat's
cat,
birthday
whose
party.
name was what, Ben?
Chairman Meow.
Yep. Sure was.
That was a solid cat name. I did like that. My cat's name is Cat,
Yeah.
so I didn't go for adventure there. But there's vampires. Vampires have flying motorcycles that run on demon energy.
I laughed when I heard that. Thought that was great.
And then somebody spikes their bikes with holy water.
Who could it be?
Yeah, and Jace is like, I'm the one that did that. And Magnus gives him another one, like, what, you want a cookie? Like, you child. I loved Magnus Bane. I think I only love Magnus Bane because of the juxtaposition between him and Jace.
I'm really confused about why they did the holy water thing, because they're like, okay, we need to go to this downworlder party and get a big favor from downworlders. You know what would be the best intro? Like messing with the other downworlders at the party that's in like a really annoying and unnecessary way when they haven't done anything to us, and we're also supposed to be getting along because of this accord that we signed with them.
It's just that easy to join the circle and become a weird magic racist. You're always just one step away.
I don't know. I think it was just supposed to make Jace look cool because he's just like he's picking fights. He's picking fights he knows he can win because he's so tough.
It's like the circle is the Death Eaters.
Yeah.
So this is like if they were trying to fight the Death Eaters in Harry Potter, but then Harry Potter was just walking around like punching muggles in the face.
So I think it's after this, like Magnus Bane kind of hits on Alec, and then there's like a big blowout between Alec, or they go to fight the vampires.
Yeah.
They go to fight the vampires.
Vampire.
And there's a whole
Because they take Simon the rat.
Yeah.
Because they think he's a vampire turned into a rat, because
Which is
of course they do.
a weird thing to do. They steal Simon out of her backpack, and they have to go rescue Simon. So there's like this whole big conversation with the kid who throws in Spanish words every now and then to remind you, I come this way every week when I'm at my abuelita's house.
Rafael.
Tacos. And and it goes on for a really long time, this conversation. He's like, how do you get in? He's like, I'm not going to let you in because people die in there. And he's like, yeah, well, I'm tough, so let me in. And like literally like 10 minutes in the audiobook. And then it ends with him moving like a bag of garbage, and there's a secret door. It was just very anticlimactic. But they go in, and Jace eventually figures out that this kid is a vampire. And he announces that by throwing a knife into his chest.
But like, what a risk to take, because what if he wasn't a vampire? Like, that would have been very awkward to
You
explain.
just call him a Mundy.
I was going to say, sometimes they aren't.
You think Jace cares?
He's like, he didn't leave prints in the dust on the floor. Like, okay, well, maybe he's light-footed.
Like, that's
Maybe
a
he was
risk I'm
walking in
willing to
your
take.
footprints, and then you just murdered a kid.
That was another interesting part of this scene where we had to explain. So he throws the knife into the vampire's chest, and the vampire's like, how did you know? And he's like, well, you had this cross-shaped scar under your chest. And he's like, well, that could be anything. And like they're arguing evidence and procedure as the guy is standing there talking with a knife in his chest, which does prove that he's not human. So there's a big fight. They haggle. There's talk of oaths. They're like, I'll give you Simon, but then you got to give like I'll give you Simon if you give me. I forget what they were even offering.
They were offering Raphael back because they had like a
he
knife
was the
against
den
his throat.
leader while the den leader was away on business at the business factory.
This was another one where like you're playing D&D, you've arranged a situation for your players,
like that.
And they've made it infinitely more complicated than it needs to be. Yeah. Just give them the guy and they'll give you the rat. That's what you, the DM, know. But in this, they're like, no, I need oaths, I need spells, I need a potion of certainty.
And eventually you get fed up and you're like, okay, werewolves are coming in. Let's go.
Yeah. And the DM's like literally like, yeah, the werewolves attack. And they're like, we're here for the girl. And they nope out of there on a vampire motorcycle.
Excellent. Before we leave, can I just point out that in the hotel, she also has really contrived, like, writing things that take you out of the story, because she's like, oh yeah, there's this staircase that like cuts off, that they've cut off because they can fly, and it's as surreal as the Degas paintings my mother likes. And it's like, you don't need to be doing this expository simile situation.
When I figured out the kid was a vampire was when they're walking through the hotel and they're like, oh wow, it looks so sad and depressing. And he's like, no, you needed to see it when it was full of people and the torches were lit by the gas lamps and it was all, and like he's suddenly just like he was like pretending he didn't speak that much English outside, and now he's like waxing very poetic about the beauty of the hotel.
Unsubtle.
Yeah, and I was like, something's up with this kid. I don't know if I was meant to figure that out or it was bad writing, but like it worked because he was a secret vampire.
I mean, I feel like a lot of this is like a mystery novel where they're going like from place to place and trying to figure out clues. So they're trying to like give you the clues to see if you can figure it out before the characters figure it out.
I wasn't quite ready to throw a knife in his chest, but I did know something was happening. The whole reason I even bothered going through the vampire thing is because that triggers the big blowout between Alec and Clary, where like, I think it does, where Jace could have been hurt.
Yeah.
And Alec wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
Alec wasn't there. And I was like really uncomfortable. That was the most uncomfortable scene in the book for me. It was when like they start arguing and Clary's like, just because you're in love with him, and Alec like
cusses her,
assaults her.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you ever say anything like that to Jace, I will kill you. And like, he's not joking.
And he says, I promise I will kill you. And they just said, like the scene before, that Shadowhunters' promises are like their bond. So they have to do it if they promise to do it.
That's the whole reason they had that haggle over I just realized it. That's the whole reason they
so that they could more messed up later.
So that they could establish the Shadowhunter thing, so that it was all for Alec's scene. Yeah.
Oh god.
But he didn't say it on really the brutal. Angel or whatever. That was a thing that I remember the vampire talked about.
Nate, what was your favorite scene?
The vampire hotel.
The vampire hotel? What do you like about the vampire hotel?
I like the description of the hotel, and you're in enemy territory, and then it goes all to shit, and then I was like, oh, there's actually like interesting stuff happening in the book now. Before it was just Jace annoying me with his I'm a cool teen, right? No, you're not, because you're a teenager. By default you can't be cool. You're just really annoying. Please go away now.
This is the part when you start tearing off pieces of shirt to bind my wounds.
If you wanted me to take my clothes off, you should have just asked.
Yeah, it is tough when, like, I imagine if you're reading this in high school, like you're supposed to, it's a lot better.
How do you know I'm not in high school, reading it Ben?
I don't know. Coming to it is like a 35-year-old. I'm like, well, you know, I just picture a 16-year-old saying it. And it's like, oh, cringe. But I bet to other 16-year-olds, he was really cool.
I had a crush on Alec. because he gets way nicer and better in the later books.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this one, I forgot that he is just like, you're a terrible invader in my house, and I will murder you to the main character.
Second Amendment.
It's a sensitive topic.
This comes up every time we're on an American podcast. I swear to God.
I don't think either of us own guns, so you're okay.
But it's our God-given right that we can.
But no, regardless of the guns.
I was gonna say. Canada's full of lumberjacks, so we also always have a gun show.
They've got trees and mooses and sled dogs, lots of lumber and lumberjacks and logs.
I liked Alec a lot. I thought he was a very sympathetic character. I felt for him because, like, it dates the book a little bit because, like, I think this came out just a couple years before gay marriage was legal.
Yeah.
In the United States. Yeah. You could tell they were doing a lot of that. Like, the conversation around his sexuality is a lot of, like, pre-acceptance conversation. Like, how's he going to make this work? How would a relationship like that even happen? And nowadays, I think it would be a little different. I don't think it would be as big of a deal.
No, the in the sequel series, the parallel to that is that there's a trans character who isn't accepted by the Shadowhunter world because this is all an allegory for the real world or something.
I feel like now we're moving more toward, like, if there's a fantasy setting, then we can have, like, greater acceptance. Whereas before it was just like, yeah, the real world's slightly homophobic, so I'm making this fantasy world where anything can happen. I'm going to make it even more homophobic.
Yeah, they did a thing. This is just tangentially related, but they did a thing with one of the Avatar: The Last Airbender comics where they discussed each of the nations' approaches to same-sex relationships, and they were like, because Korra winds up getting with Asami in the comics, and like, it's like the air nomads totally cool with it. They don't care about anything.
There's 5 of them left.
Yeah. The water tribe was like, you could do it, but, like, keep it quiet. Fire Nation was like, hard no.
Which you would expect.
Yeah. But I don't know. It felt a little dated, but a lot of things felt a little dated. But I was with Alec until he got, like, really violent about it. That was a little, made me not like Alec so much.
There's it gets much better, that aspect of it, I will say. But I do think that you should read it just for Alec's development as a character.
There you go, Nate. We gotta read it. Sprint to the finish. So they get the Mortal Cup, right, from the tarot cards. Clary finds out that you can use runes. You can use runes to hide things in pictures, and that's what her mom did, and that's why they stole all her pictures. So she finds the Mortal Cup in Madame Dorothea's tarot deck, but then it turns out that Madame Dorothea was actually Abaddon, destroyer of men, and she has risen from the depths to put an end to this nonsense. And she, well, I guess Abaddon, he possessed her, he killed her. Madame Dorothea's dead, which was weird because she was cool. And they fight a lot. Alec gets beaten up. Jace is about to die. And then Simon comes in, no longer a beta, total alpha. He's got his bow. His chest is popping like Rambo, and he just shoots an arrow into the skylight. The sun rains down and just burns Abaddon to a crisp. And Alex like, did I win?
Oh.
And everybody's like, sure you did, buddy.
See, this is another scene where it's like the way that it happened leading up to this is because she wanted that to happen. She wanted Simon to come in with the arrow and shoot the ceiling. Yeah. But guess Alex, like, he's like our T&D ranger. His weapon of choice is the bow and arrow. And he's like, I'm just going to leave this in the car.
I'm going to leave it in the car. I'm going to, like, Alex has never killed a demon because he's a tank, I guess. He doesn't do the DPS. So he's really insecure about that. And that was one of the things Clary said to like attack him, was that Jace said you never killed a demon. And he got really insecure about that. And so he threw himself and tried to kill the demon, and he didn't. But he tried really hard. And so they're rushing back in Simon's van to try to get there before Alec bleeds out, try to get back to the Institute. And they do. They get there and Hodge stabilizes Alex, but he's like, we're gonna need the Brotherhood to fix him, because the Brotherhood's kind of like an everything institution.
They're like the monk doctors.
Yeah. And Hodge is like, well, it's just a shame you didn't get the Mortal Cup. And they're like, oh, but we did get the Mortal Cup. And he's like, can I see it? And they're like, yeah, here you go. And he's like, neat.
Get him.
Valentine.
Sicks his bird on them and claws the shit out of Clary's face or something.
I liked that. I liked, as soon as he had a raven, I was like, it's going to be named after Odin's raven. And it was.
Oh.
Thought and memory. But then Valentine comes out of the fireplace or something, or a portal, like it's Harry Potter. And he grabs the cup, and then there's another like back and forth where it's like, I'm gonna give you the cup. He's like, but I'm gonna take Jace. He's like, well, I'll give you the cup, but you don't take Jace. And he's like, counter offer, I take Jace and the cup, but I lift your curse. And he's like, okay, but you're not gonna hurt Jace. And he's like, no, I might. I reserve the right to hurt Jace. And
deal.
They go back, and he's like, okay, deal, yeah. And so Hodge gets his curse lifted. He coughs up curse juice, and he puts Clary in a cage. And he's like, somebody will get you out of here eventually. He's like, I'm not a bad guy. It looks like I'm a bad guy right now, but I'm like writing this little note, and then I'm gonna throw it in the fireplace, and that's gonna go to Magnus Bane. He's gonna come and he's gonna fix everything. And Clary uses her rune powers, because she still has a Steely, which I don't know what a Steely is. It's a little late in the book to be admitting that. I think it's
like the wand. It's like they use the runes as their magic spells to like do power-ups. And the Steely is like the wand that they write the runes on themselves with.
It's also like an Apple Pencil.
Okay. I was gonna say, does it like have a point? Does it, because they make it sound like they carve these runes into themselves.
I think they burn them.
Yeah, I think it's like an induction stove type situation. You know, it only works on what you want it to work.
So Clary gets out and she's like, I'm gonna go beat up an old man. And she chases Hodge down, but Hodge is a master of the blade, the chakram to be specific. And he whips a chakram at Clary's face, and she ducks it barely. Now she's like on the ground. She can't move. There's nowhere to go. And he's like, walk away from this, Clary. And Clary's like, counterpoint, I don't walk away from this. And you come back with me and admit you did wrong. And he's like, counterpoint to your counterpoint, I'm going to kill you now. And he's like winding up to throw, and then werewolf. And then there's a werewolf that attacks him, and he bites him. I don't know. Does Clary pass out or something? Because she wakes up in a cage, and she's talking to, I almost said Sirius Black. I forget his name. Luke. She's talking to Luke. And Luke tells her all the exposition. He was a werewolf. He was a shadow hunter, but then he became a werewolf. And then Valentine was like, kill yourself. Yeah, they were closer than brothers until Valentine was like, kill yourself. And so he's like, counterpoint, I don't kill myself, but I take your dagger. And he goes off into the woods. He leads a pack of werewolves, blah, 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 blah. He's part of the uprising. And now we got to go save Jace. This is the sprint to the finish. So they round up all the werewolves. They live in a Chinese restaurant. Mushu pork. That's a thing that they say a lot. And they got a caravan of werewolves. They're all driving cars in New York City traffic.
So a few days later, they finally reach their destination.
To a building. I forget what Valentine's building is. I think it's like outside it looks like a bad church, but inside it looks like a better church.
Yes, sure.
And
why not?
Yeah, it's filled with Forsaken warriors, but that's okay because we got a bunch of werewolves. So the werewolves fight the Forsaken, blah, blah, blah. Clary storms the tower to rescue the princess, but then she finds Jace, and he's like looking out a window again with like 3 buttons undone on his shirt, the moonlight on his face. He's got a glass of wine. And he's like, my father gave me this shirt. She's like, your father's dead, Jace. He's like, whatever Valentine told you, your father's dead. And he's like,
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
no, you don't understand. Valentine is my father. And at this point, Clary knows that Valentine's her father. And he's just like, that's not true.
It's not true. That's impossible.
And they argue. If anybody has anything to say about this scene did not do much for me.
It went on for a while, and I knew it was going to end in like a weird, you guys are related type of thing. So I was like, can we just like finish now, please?
Yeah, so Valentine comes in. He's like, so I faked my death, but then I burned a baby, and I kind of lost the thread here.
I forgot about that part.
So I burned a baby to death, but it wasn't my baby.
Perfect. That makes it better.
So Jace is my kid that I ran away with, but then I raised him for like a couple years, but then I got sick of that and I faked my death again, and I gave him, or I pretended he was Wayland, and the ring is an upside down M.
Yeah.
And
it's funny how a W could look like an M upside down.
so I'm a Morgenstern, which is like Morning Star, because like I'm the devil.
Broly is not a monster. Broly is the devil.
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
And it's so edgy and so cool. And then there's a sword fight. Luke comes in and he's like, I'm going to fight you. And they fight and they clash. And Jace is like, there's a tug of war for Jace's soul right now.
Lot.
Yeah, do I go with my father, who is, sounding increasingly evil, or do I go with my sister girlfriend, or do I? And then eventually he's like, you know what, sister girlfriend, Dad, you shouldn't have killed my hawk. Get out of here. And then Valentine somehow escapes with the Mortal Cup.
He goes through a mirror. He goes into a mirror.
Yeah.
And he's hidden the cup in the City of Glass, maybe? I don't know. He hid it somewhere, and he jumps through a mirror, and they're like, I'll get you next time.
That's the end of the
The end.
And then he smashes the mirror behind him because Jace won't stab his dad. And then he's like, ha, you dumbass, you wouldn't stab your father. And then he leaves.
Like, Jace starts actually acting his age in this scene. Like, he, like, it really, like, brings, like, is brought to, like, his 16-year-old knees, I guess. Like, oh no, my father's here. I don't know how to handle these emotions. Like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Jace is like, I just want to be loved.
Well,
it's like,
be a better person then. You make it really hard to love you, I gotta say.
Yeah, but he's so hot.
There's a whole, well, you got, look, it's not enough to be hot. You also have to be tragic.
There you go.
He is.
He has this story about how his dad gave him a hawk. And as soon as he started telling this story, I was like, the hawk's going to die. And the dad gives him the hawk. He's like, the hawk was like wild, and I raised it and I taught it to love me, and I made it do all the tricks. And then I showed it to my dad. My dad snapped its neck because my dad's an asshole. And he's like, that'll teach you a lesson about loving things. Don't do that. And Clary's like, wow, that's a really bad story. And he's like, whoa, was it?
Yeah, he like thinks his dad is the best.
Yeah.
He's like, my dad was like really smart and cool, and he taught me so many things, like how I don't deserve love and I don't deserve any hugs any day of the week. And also, if I like anything at all, it will be snatched away from me and I will cry.
But he got
so that
to
was great.
be in a bathtub of spaghetti, so it all worked out in the end.
Oh, yeah.
What?
I forgot about that.
Do you not remember that,
What?
Ben?
No.
His dad let him be in a thing of spaghetti for his birthday.
He used to get everything he wanted for his birthday, which he was telling Clary because he was showing her some flower for her birthday.
Was there? Are
Yes,
you serious?
this is real.
Am
No,
I
it's a
going
thing.
insane? There was a bathtub of spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's like a very brief mention, and I can see why he missed it.
I would have thought that would stay with me.
Yeah, me too. think there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, okay,
here,
this is where I admit, like, I listened to this book exclusively while running, so maybe I was like in traffic or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's just a weird flex, just like trying to lose some of this excess weight. The Hawk story, that is word for word from the Draco trilogy.
Why do we have to bring it back?
I was not expecting you to go there.
Yeah, that is something that Draco's father did to him.
We're not surprised.
She salvaged it.
That tracks.
Yeah. So then the weirdest part of the book, Clary and Jace, Clary's mom's still in a coma. It's a magic coma. And Clary's like, I think you should go see our mom because I think hearing your voice would wake her up from her coma.
Right, because they find Jocelyn.
Yeah. And it's weird for a lot of reasons. A, because it's like our mom, and B, because it's like he's not her son. So that's just weird and awkward for everybody. But they ride a flying motorcycle into the sunset. Not the sunset.
Yeah, no,
demon
you don't want to do
energy
that.
doesn't
crash.
Yeah, the demon energy doesn't work when the sun's up. I pictured it as a sunset. I don't know how the motorcycle's moving. Huh.
I like this scene because one of the big jokes of this scene is, ha ha ha, rich people get their groceries delivered. And it's like so dated. Clary's there with like her messenger bag that has pins on it of all her anime shows.
Oh, they do talk about watching Trigun. She calls Simon to see if he wants to watch Trigun.
I heard that.
Did it ruin Trigun for you?
It definitely tarnished it just a little bit, but it's also, I mean, you've done more to damage my enjoyment of that show than anything, Ben. So
I have that's a tangent we don't have time for. So
we've got 3 hours, Ben. Come on,
we've got 3 hours. I'm sure everybody wants to hang out and listen to Trigun. But yeah, so that's the moral instruments. Now you know the whole story. The audience does.
You know at the end, which is like the main thing you need to know to get into the other book. Problem solved.
Yeah. So, okay. Does it hold up? That's my question for Uncited.
No.
As a standalone?
End of answer.
No. As a series of complex novels woven together that are like spanning 20 years? Yeah.
When I was a teen reading it, I was like, wow, this is like really cool and fun. These teenagers are so smart. And now I read it, I'm like, oh, these teenagers are trying to be so smart and it makes my blood boil.
Somebody's giving these teenagers too much responsibility.
I like where it goes in the rest of the series, though. But yeah, I don't think this is written well. It's like every character is very flat. It's like Jocelyn is an artist. Like, I know that she's a shadow hunter and she ran away from the circle with her daughter, but at the beginning it's like she's an artist and she's got art all over the house and all the paintings on the wall are Jocelyn's paintings and all of the pillows are cross-stitched by Jocelyn and Jocelyn has to walk in with a graphite pencil holding up her ponytail. And it's like, oh, why are we doing this? We don't need to.
Nate, I'll go last.
All right, Ben.
Would you ever consider going deeper in?
But come on, think of Simon as a vampire.
You think of Simon.
My God. So, I would have to have assurances in advance that there's not going to be any really weird, like, brother, sister, will they, won't they, stuff. That's like the only way I could even consider that, Ben.
I will say there's no more brother and sister, will they, won't they, with Clary and Jace.
I am.
That narrows it down to a much smaller scope than I was hoping for.
I am dimly aware of a character called Sebastian.
You know it's bad if she's the one who's sighing. Yeah.
Well, okay, that's not like I think that's a better form of incest Hear me out. Because it's not requited. Like, it's not, like, not both parties are into it, which somehow makes it better.
I know what the uncharitable quote of this episode is going to be.
Because you're meant to hate it for what it is. Whereas with Jason Clare, you're not supposed to hate it.
So
not at first, though. At first, you're supposed to be like, okay, this is fun.
But he's sketch from the beginning.
I
feel like everyone else goes into things a lot more uncharitably than I do.
So I definitely do think for Cassandra Clare, the nature of Clary and Jace's parentage was hot for her. I think for most readers it probably wasn't, and they probably tackle it differently. But
I would hope.
So Cassandra Clare, I read a post from her where she attempts to explain like why she uses incest so much in her writing, and she compared it to Tolkien writing incest about in the story of Turin Turambar, which is where a dragon tricks him into marrying his sister. They don't know they're siblings, and when they find out, she throws herself off a cliff, and he goes and he kills the dragon, and then immediately falls on his own sword. I didn't really see the comparison to Mortal Instruments in that, but I do know, like with Sebastian, he's not supposed to be a hero. You're not supposed to like him. It's not like with Jace. So I could kind of see that. I don't know. I think like my own take on it is she's got like a real talent for picking out what works in urban fantasy, especially, and putting it together into a really interesting world. I could see myself reading more of this. I don't know if I can ever convince Nate. Maybe that'll be a I explain it to you episode.
We'd have you come onto our podcast and we'd talk about it.
There you go.
See, we don't need Nate. It's fine.
Yeah. But
we don't need to subject him to this. It's fine.
I'd be interested in seeing how it goes, because a couple of things. Like I do think there's a weird kink there, but I don't think all the people, like, this is such a popular series. That can't be the reason most people are reading it. It's gotta, because the world is compelling. I think she does have a talent for world building. I don't think Cassandra Clare is entirely without merit. I do think from the research, it's easy to pick on her because of the things she likes, perhaps too easy. So people have gone a little harder than maybe they should. I don't know. I'd be interested in seeing where it goes. I have enough friends who have liked this, whose opinions I respect. I've listened to every episode of Uncited, of course.
Ditto.
Not same.
And I am kind of interested in the Simon thing.
If you're interested in Simon, and if you like Magnus as a character, I think you're going to like the rest of the series, because they become a much bigger part of it. Even bigger than Simon was in this book, where he shouldn't have been a big part of it at all, because he was just a regular human running around with deadly monsters.
And I think like the world building aspect of it, like within the fandom, from like the normal fans is what I'm going to call them. we like to forget that Jason Clary had that whole brother sister thing, and we're like, blinders, we don't like that part, so we don't talk about it, kind of thing. At least in my experience with like my 2013 stuff, like we were very much like, okay, yeah, they were like brother sister for a book, and then that got resolved fucking quickly, and now everything is great.
We have a famous series of episodes where we did Midnight Sun, which is the only Twilight book you've ever read, which is the worst Twilight book to start with.
Oh no.
And I do the same thing where it's like, is it an elderly man dating a high school girl? Yes.
That's
Can
it.
we look
the
past
end.
that? Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. That's the nature of YA paranormal romance. It's trashy.
Is it a good book? No. But was it fun to read?
Is it entertaining?
For some of us here, I guess.
Is it a good book? No. Was it an enjoyable reading experience? No. Would I read more? I don't know, maybe.
Can we talk about the audiobook for a second?
Yes.
I got so mad that all of the shadow hunters had this like really terrible fake British accent.
Yes,
Why
was that
did
in the
they?
movies? I meant to ask about that
No,
because they're European. They're from Idris.
they're from like between
Idris.
France and Switzerland or something, aren't they? If they
Yeah, it's
had an
it's
accent,
somewhere
it should
in
be
there.
that accent. But even the shadow hunters that grew up in America have that accent, and I'm like, for what?
Yeah, because they were sheltered.
They have
Piss me
to
off and piss
have
me back
that
on again.
air of smug condescension, and British accents are just perfect for that.
You could turn a mundane into a shadow hunter. I mean, we came from mundanes, but you could never turn a downworlder into one of the clave. They can't withstand the runes.
Do you think we'd be sitting on opposite sides of the table with Amy maybe being more negative if they'd had French accents?
I think it would be grand.
I
think if we want them to seem smug.
I honestly thought you would say, would we sit at the opposite side of the table if we made them read Thrawn?
Amy, with a European French accent, can you picture? The face you're making is really good.
I would have given up. That would have been like anybody of any like Spanish descent reading Raphael's character. I would have been like, you
Especially
know what?
because like
Fuck this
the
noise.
narrator, she did not go to a dialect coach. I can tell you that.
No, she did
No,
not.
it would have been like, oh, I'm Jace.
Isabelle's like, I have made French onion soup.
I think we could probably wrap up. I don't know if anybody has any final thoughts.
Give the series a chance. I think we've lost Nate. I think like
That's okay because
he's too far.
I can do another Patreon poll. We'll see. We'll see how our patrons feel about this episode, and I'm sure now that's where I'm gonna step in it because they would 100% make me read another Sisterhood of the Traveling.
Oh yeah, that would be what would have to be between.
I'll do it. I'll do another Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants if you do another Mortal Instruments.
You know, I think you guys should read the first book of the prequel series.
I
It's
think
set
we're
in, like,
fortunate in that
Victorian
Nate
England.
owns it.
Oh my god, is that Clockwork Angel?
Yes.
I have that and never read it,
I
and
recommend.
it's been in my possession for like, I don't know, like better part of a decade.
It's a lot of fun. I think it's more fun. Magnus is there. The intrigue is more fun. The like love triangle is less gross.
Hopefully they won't get Mae Whitman to narrate the audiobook.
Ray Porter,
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah, Ray Porter should have done it. You there is an audiobook narrator. Like this is what comes from doing a book podcast. We have favorite narrators. And Ray Porter is a man who sounds like he walked out of like a honky tonk bar in Texas with a cigar in his mouth. And they give him the worst roles. Like there was a book that was entirely from the perspective of a female character. The cast gets whittled down to two young women and a 20-something guy, and he's just like, and then I was like this. It's so bad. I feel so bad for him, but he's been in movies and stuff. Okay, that's the Mortal Instruments. You should read it, patrons. As always, I hope you're happy.
Do you guys have any plugs?
Yes. So again, we are from Uncited, an English Lit podcast, and we are going to be talking about some Shakespeare history soon. Richard II, Henry's the everything. And yeah, so that'll be fun. If you want to find us, we are still on Twitter for some reason, even though no one else is, at Uncited Pod, and we are also on Instagram, same handle. But yeah, thank you so much for having us on.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for coming and sitting through all this.
I'm sorry that we all tormented each other with it.
I always pick someone to cyberbully, and I think this time it was Nate, and I'm sorry.
That's what podcasting is all about.
It's usually Glenn, so like it's okay.
People come here for the dynamic, right?
I don't know. I get conflicting messages about that. And with that, we must end the episode. As always, I want to give a shout out to our Yacht Plan tier patrons. We have Spooky Shy, who is over on TikTok. That's Shy with a Y, CHY. We have Jamie, the Gravy Man of the If You Want the Gravy movie blog and everything blog and reviewing cereals and such. I don't know why I always pick on the cereals. He also does soda. I just think it's interesting to review food that's like not prepared in a restaurant. And we have Isekai Sensei Sama of the That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster podcast. He just had a big review extravaganza that somebody you may find familiar actually chipped in on. And of course, we have famous author John Bierce, who subscribed to our Patreon largely because Nate is extorting him for breakfast sandwich money. You can just Google John Bierce. He is the author of the Mage Errant series. He also has a Patreon where he does short stories, and you can vote on them, and you get to see a little bit of his work that, as far as I know, not all of it's been collected and sold yet. So that's a neat benefit. If you would like me to shout you out, and you would like me to plug your project, go ahead and hop on over to patreon.com/WABpod and give us money. Unless, of course, you are Glenn Nuzzles, in which case you will get a free shout out because Nuzzle House's CBS Radio Mystery Theater kind of brought us and Uncited together for the first time on a mic. So that was fun and was an inspiration for this. And of course, go check out Uncited. You could check us out on Twitter if you want at WABpod. Not checking it very often, but I will probably eventually see your message. We're on Instagram at Words About Books Podcast. We've got a blog at blog.wordsaboutbooks.ninja. If you would like to email us, if you have a question or a comment you want to get on air, that is wordsaboutbookspod@gmail.com. And with that, this has been quite an endeavor. I will be sad to see the Mortal Instruments go. It's going to be weird to not be thinking about this for a while. So enjoy that. I will try to enjoy that as well. Good night.